Right, so now we are going to listen to our next speaker to welcome Dr. José Ramón Calvo-Ferrer, also from the University of Alicante, who has taught extensively in the areas of translation, English, and teacher training since 2008. I also want to highlight that he's a visiting lecturer at the University of Essex, where he leads workshops on video games and translation. His research lies at the intersection of language learning, digital technologies, and educational innovation. His work has made significant contributions to the fields of computer-assisted language learning and game-based learning. In particular, he has explored how mainstream video games and serious games can motivate learners and enhance second language acquisition. Today, in his presentation on teaching English through new technologies, gamification and game-based learning, Dr. Calvo-Ferrer will walk us through the evolution of educational technologies from early computer-assisted language learning to mobile learning, and examine how game-based approaches can be effectively integrated into language instruction. So his talk, I'm sure, promises to offer valuable insights into how digital play can foster real language competence. So please join me once again in welcoming now Dr. José Ramón Calvo-Ferrer.
Ok, gracias. Buenos días a todos y a todas. Gustaríame comenzar a mi presentación agradeciendo a profesora María Ángeles Gómez o convite, que también facemos extensible ao Departamento e a Facultade. Grazas tamén pela vosa presenza esta mañá. É un verdadeiro placer estar aquí en esta fermosa cidade de Santiago, podendo compartir con vos o traballo que famos desde a Universidade de Alicante no noso grupo de investigación de L2.
Eso no lo sabía yo, el galego, que está aquí haciendo. O lo que sea, no sé si es galego, no sé.
Bueno, gracias. No, verdaderamente é un grande placer poder estar aquí, como digo, esta mañán, poder compartir con vos o traballo que facemos desde a Universidade de Alicante, desde o noso grupo de investigación de L2 sobre aprendizaje de lenguas no contornos digitais. Okay, so that's all I have to say. Well, thank you very much. So basically, the presentation that I have for you on just like teaching on video games, basically, okay, I'd like to share with you just like, the objectives of the presentation is just like to learn about the different use of games in the L2 classroom, learn about the characteristics of serious games, educational games, off-the-shelf games for education and training. Also, just like to show you what we do, as I was saying, just like in our research group, and to learn about like different, I don't know how much time we'll have. We'll share the presentation in case we do not have time, because we prepared just like a different set of games for different language purposes. But first, we'd like to show you what we do and what we've done over these years. Okay, so basically, as I said, we're going to take a look at technology in education, game foundations and approaches to gaming in education, etc., etc. Okay, so when I ask a question, just like, because I do that often, and I say, okay, how many of you use video games? Okay, just like people tend sort of like reluctant to say, or they just say, no, I don't use video games. But then I show them the pictures because they might think of hardcore gamers. Okay, but just like video games are also these, just like Tetris, just like Snake. You may, remember just like El Buscaminas. Okay, so just like we do play video games. It's just like it's a joyful activity. We do play games, and obviously just like there's a wide range from being a hardcore gamer and just like a casual gamer. I'm not a hardcore gamer myself, so I do like to use video games because they obviously, just like sort of like provide advantages in education, just like we have like adaptive learning, just like it made, just like when you use a video game in education in the classroom, just like you can see that just like some students go very fast and they can repeat, and then some others just like take more time. So just like it's one of the things is of course just like adaptive learning, and that's why it goes back to Skinner and the sort of like Skinner. I can't remember the name, but just like this sort of like learning machine that he said that he went to his daughter's classroom and he saw that just like students were working at a different pace, and that just like they was putting off some students, etc., etc. So he came up with this teaching machine, okay, learning machine, I think it was the name, okay. Well, immediate feedback. Just like that's something that comes with video games, okay? Just like you perform an activity and then you see if you fail or if you have to repeat it. And I couldn't find a better picture for immediate feedback, okay? Also, something that we do, or something that we typically say with video games is just like we come to like from a model in which they lecturer is just like speaking for endless hours. Obviously, that's a dramatization, but just like we should sort of like move on to a model where students are engaged, and that's why we use video games in education. Of course, just like they lots of shades, and they're just like different. It's not black and white, obviously. Okay, why do we play? Just like it's the first question that we should ask ourselves. Okay, just like there are many different theories and many different explanations. Just like starting from Huizenga, 1929, but just like a very widely cited and very famous is that of Prensky, 2001, on the creator of the term digital natives and digital immigrants. Okay, different reasons. Basically, we shall coincide that it's just like fun. That's basically. Okay, that's basic. Just like a game must be fun. A game must have rules. No one likes playing games without rules. Okay, so just like a very simple example, just like I was as a kid, just like we've all played tag. Okay, and when someone is playing tag, and then you say, okay, tag, and then someone says, no, casa, azúcar. Yeah, so like no, it's not here, it's there. So we have to have rules, we have to have norms, we have goals. Okay, so that's something that sort of like those are sort of like concepts, so like align very much with educational purposes and educational objectives. So that's a way to like video games and education match together so well. Okay, they have conflict, competition, problem solving. Okay, they have a story. So these are the things that we need to take into account when we just like using games and education and bridging the gap between education and having fun. Okay, right. So why do we use games specifically in education? Different lots of studies. Okay, just like students feel more motivated. It's a safe drill environment. Just like we're not scared to like to make mistakes. Okay, so a brain that functions itself, that enjoys itself, functions more efficiently. Just like we relax, etc. It motivates learners, etc. And obviously, just like I like that quote. Okay, when we're doing learning, okay, we learn better. But that's just like obviously something that we all share and that we've experienced. Why in L2? Why we just like for language learning? Just like again, lots of skills. Just like early results, 2000. Okay, just like it improves listening skills in foreign languages. Just like communicative competence. Just like it is better learned in context. We've seen these with different apps. Just like they're great for grammar and vocab. Okay, just like. So yeah, The Sims, it's already been mentioned here. Again, Second Life we mentioned before. Okay, so what are the possibilities? Just like when we talk about video games in education, okay, or game, what are the gaming approaches? Like first, we've like what we call Egenfeld-Nielsen 2006 mentioned or called COTS, off-the-shelf games, just like real games, okay, that we may use in education. That's one, just like some leg of a table. Okay, well, it's a three-leg table, but anyway, it's just like one of them is just like real games. Okay, we may go like it's like, for example, when we say I want my students like imagine just like I'm not teaching French, okay, but just like if I do, for example, we say okay, let's play some videos, let's make students watch some films, okay, and they're gonna obviously just like they're going to learn some French. Just like obviously depends on the level. okay? But they're going to learn, right? So that would be just like taking a film, taking a game, and just like making your students play. And obviously, there's just like different approaches afterwards as to what you want to do with that film, how you prepare your activity, etc., etc. That's the planning we were talking about. Okay, so that's a very important thing. Okay, then also the serious games. Okay, so we say, okay, just let's create games for education. Okay, it's not to like the main purpose. It's not to, let's say, or it's to infuse some learning. Okay, so that would be like saying, oh, it's great. Yeah, just like people learn French by watching films. Let's create films for French learning. Okay, so that would be serious games. Okay, just like create games specifically for specific purposes. In that case, or in this case, just like learning, right? And there's also gamification. Okay, and we'll go a bit over that. Okay, right. So 3 possibilities revolving around the gaming approaches. So first one, COTS, cut off the shelf games. I just went to Reddit and said, just like, what are games for effective language learning? And people just like, they're going to say things like these, okay? Just like, I learned lots of English while playing Pokemon. Okay, so just like, that's a real game. Another one said The Sims. Okay, Second Life. Okay, and here, just like, oh, I learned lots of English when I was a child by playing Mario games. Okay, because it's just like there's practice, there's interaction, there's vocab that you can read, there's instructions that you need to follow. Minecraft, as we were mentioning earlier, okay, just like for different purposes. Okay, so that would be just like taking real games and using them in the classroom, which you can obviously do. And it's what's the main problem there? Just like taking its content and saying, okay, I wanted to focus on these and that. So the planning ahead is very important in this case, okay? So something else, just like people came up and said, oh, we can do all those things, okay, with serious games. Oh, sorry, with games. So why don't we create games for this specific purpose? Okay, so serious games. So that's an actual quote from App 1970. Okay, so a serious game is a game designed for a primary purpose other than pure entertainment. Okay, so what the problem here is, just like we'll say, just like different examples. Okay, it's great, let's create games, but when people typically, many, okay, educational games, yeah, are not, we said like, why do we play? Because we like to have fun, or we have fun, okay, when playing games. If a game is not fun, if it does not have a story, if it does not have a clear objective, it's mostly questions, okay. Imagine just like, we were talking about films, right? So imagine I say, okay, you can learn French by watching videos, okay, or watching films, okay, but it's not the same to watch a proper film, a nice film, then say, okay, I'm going to create those films myself. Imagine a film that were like first minute in the game, in the film, just like, je suis, tu es, okay? So that would boring. People obviously, yeah, just like they feel disconnected from the film and they do not learn and their learning objective is lost, okay? So that's more or less what happens also with serious games. Plenty of examples, just like, and that would be just like common traits. I don't know, let me check the time. Because I'd like to play, yeah, I do have time. I'd like to show you these, to share these with you. Okay, because that's, I'd say, an archetypical, that's in essence of something that might not be great. Okay, let me see. The issue happens, okay. Okay, it doesn't want to work, it's fine. Anyway, so imagine we go play basketball. Okay, we all like to play basketball, football, etc. But imagine before we shoot, okay, I stop you, I say, stop there. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, okay? What is, I don't know, the strength with which you have to throw the ball so that it goes into the basket? And you say, oh, yeah. Just like, why ask him this? Let me play, right? So it is just like we try to, it's not the same practice as theory. So it is difficult to actually, through practice, to infer theory. So that's one thing. It is even worse. And that's why I wanted to show you this game, which is a platform game. Like you're a robot, you're collecting stars, and then all of a sudden it says, 2 of Jim's friends do a bit of shoplifting. Okay, and then it's, yeah, so nothing to do with the game. questions, etc. So just like obviously the player feels disconnected. Okay. Also, there's lots of theory, lots of debriefing. That's not a game. Just like if you keep people just like telling them what you need to do, instructions, etc., etc. Are we creating a game? I like to, when we create games, I like to give them to people and see how they react. Okay, and then just like you have to be very careful with tutorials. Okay, at the beginning of the games, because most people do not like to read them, so you have to be keep them really, really short. Okay, so lots of written instructions, lots of written text, that doesn't work too well. Okay, so that's a common characteristic of serious games. You get like lots of theory, lots of debriefing, limited fun. Okay, or that many times it like reproduces something that can be done, that can actually be done in real life. Okay, and just like also, do you like to follow a traditional? They follow a traditional methodology, or do you like you create like you spend lots of money on creating virtual environments, but then it's basically the same. You see yourself sitting in a classroom, and then you have to click on the PowerPoint, and then the PowerPoint will open. Okay, so there's nothing too attractive, and then there's the lack of prior thinking and prior methodology that you have to devote and think. How can we use, as Melinda and Kara were saying, how can we use these technologies for our own benefit, okay? So careful about that. That's sort of like old, 15 years old, something like that, 2008, 2009, actually, a bit older than that. And that's one of the, but that was by, there's these, Vaughan, I think he like a system, something like he created, or just like PSP, PlayStation Portable, developed this game. Okay, and it was a nice thing to have this video game for English learning. But then, the minute you start playing, it's all questions that have nothing to do with the game itself, okay, not even connected. So you're an agent, you're a secret agent, and I thought, okay, we actually bought the PSP to explore it, okay? And then it's okay, you were an agent, and I thought, okay, maybe you get instructions, because that would be easy to do, you have to, for example, you exercise your listening, if the game tells you where you have to go, it's just nothing like that. It was just doing things in the game that having fun in the game, and then all of a sudden, activities like cuánto hay en tu cuenta, how much money is in account, or are there lots of people in the party, and you have to do traditional activities, okay, that had nothing to do with the game. So there's actually putting people of the actual game flow, the flow of the game, okay? So now, gamification, okay, it means to take all the mechanisms in a game and use them in your classroom. Okay, when that is, for example, when you tell your students, okay, let's see, if you finish first, you get this prize. Okay, or if you put when you give your student a star. Okay, that's like a ranking, that's like a leaderboard, etc. Okay, so a technique that deploys game mechanics in the training, okay, realm for better outcomes. Okay, what can we do to having to do with gamification? So mostly things that you generally do. Okay, scoreboards. Okay, when you give your students your grades, okay, and they compare themselves, how they did, how they performed. Okay, levels. Okay, in terms of you moved on from here, and then you make it more complicated, and you move on to the next level. Rewards. Okay, tables, competition, things that have to do with games, or, for example, missions, when you tell your students that they need to look for some information and they get a prize if they do. Okay, and then we see these in everyday life, and for example, this running app, Nike running app, and also these long exercises, just even that, okay, or there's tray mats, okay, that's advert gaming, that's just Stranger Things, and there was just spot differences between this and this, as I was saying, this tray liner, okay, and then also that some people will know, okay. Right, we're going to talk about the different games. We'd like to share with you the different games that we've been developing over the years, just you might see some progression and to see how we try to implement the things that I was sharing with you before. Okay, just that was for my PhD, which José supervised. Okay, that's some years ago, 2012 actually. Okay, and we created this game because we wanted to see how students perform or how the students learn terminology. Okay, and that was then later published 2015. And it was actually what we did here. Okay, you will see, very simple. Okay, it was, but what we did, it was like a conference interpreting setting. Okay, it was just like you would hear something, different presentations. Okay, of it was actually operating systems, mobile phones, tablets, etc. Okay, and you had to listen, or the player or the user would listen to those conferences, to those talks, and then they would read the translation in Spanish. Okay, as you can see there in the third picture there. Okay, but the terminology would disappear. Okay, that was the thing. There were blanks, and they would have to choose. Okay, like for example, I'm going to read. Okay, tiene I can't remember. En primer lugar, es tremendamente. That was the iPad presentation. En primer lugar, es tremendamente más rápido. De nuevo es un nuevo. And then that was an easy one. Yeah, chip. Yeah, el A5 que se les ha ocurrido, blah. And then they would have to select. Okay. Now what we did, and that was basically my PhD dissertation, as I was saying many years ago. We compared what happened if we created the same materials, the very same thing, and we used this gamified in this sort of like gaming app to a group of students, okay, and another control group having the same things in a traditional way. So we had those students, a group of students, just like paper-based, doing listening and just like circling the right answer, the right term, and here just like exactly the same thing, okay, but in a more gamified environment, and then just like sort of like having those icons, thing, potion, 50%, etc., then having some stats, as I was saying, just like some leaderboards, etc. And then what happened was that not just like it was significant, okay, it was not a big difference, okay, but the experimental group, those playing using the video game, learn more terminology. Learning meaning, okay, for the purposes of this research, okay, just like how they were used, how well they performed the task of translating the term, because like the let's say the talks, as I was saying, the audio was in English, okay, and the results and the terms that they had to select were in Spanish, okay. So that was one game that we created. Another one, this is more recent, that was a project that we received, we were granted some years ago, about like 6 years ago, and that was called for the training of translators and interpreters, okay. So we wanted to say two things, basically how students just like improve their subtitling skills, okay. In the game, you're a subtitler, okay, and you have to review and revise subtitles, okay. So that's something, I don't know if you agree with me, okay. I suppose that those who like languages, I would say, okay, I know I'm generalizing, sorry about that, okay, but we tend to watch foreign films with subtitles, right? I think most of you agree with that, with me on that, okay? So, and it happens to us as well that when we're watching a film and there's something that doesn't look right, we go like, hey, and it sort of like pisses us off, right? Because it's not nice to see it there and they say, hey, wait, yeah. Anyway, and just like people look at us and say, okay, just like it doesn't matter, but yeah, so it's something that nags us. Okay. Right, so what we do here is exactly the same thing, okay? It's like we created this game and we create the content as well. It was a great tool to create content for our students because they did that themselves, okay? And they had to, as I was saying, there to create the content, and for example, it's like there's some inaccuracies between what they listen and what they read, okay? And when you see something that's not accurate, just like it is a bit like those sort of like dating apps that you have to sort of like scroll or like swipe to right or swipe, right or left, and then when you do, you have to sort of like the different, how can you say that, sort of like tools, okay, that indicate that you've seen the error and that you know which tool to apply. I'll give you a very brief example. For example, when you go to the doctor, okay, because you have a headache, Okay, if the doctor tells you, okay, you have to put on a bandage, he's going to say no. He doesn't know, for example, how to fix this error. Okay, so when we see a different type, for example, I don't know, if it said there's a dog on the table and then it read gato, cat. Okay, you say, oh no, you have to choose that, just like not a proper term. Okay, so that's we create that was difficult. We had to create different categories of errors, and then for each category we would apply a different sort of like say tool to fix it. Okay, that was one, and then you would send the subtitles, and then it would give the results, it would give feedback, and then madre mía, lo has hecho muy mal, no te pienso pagar. Okay, which is something common. No. Okay, and now something, and well, the objective. The objective of the game, or in the game purpose was to improve as a translator. Okay, just like to, for example, upgrade your screen, your computer, the place you live in, and every time you did, okay, you would have more followers, okay, on Twitter, okay, and more money. Right, and that's something that we're working on now, okay, and we're really excited. We're really happy about these. I'm going to share with you some links in case you want to do that with us. And okay, so something that we saw, okay, when we were doing these, we used this game, okay, the Subtitle Legends, okay, to stemming from a different piece of research. We saw that people, and that's something that amazes us. Why do some people spot mistakes and some other people don't? Okay, that's something that puzzles me. Okay, like why do some people, you might read a poster and you see there's a blatant mistake there, and people do not see it, some people do see it. Okay, so we said, okay, let's create, let's use this video game to introduce errors in the menus. For example, here, you might have seen one. Madre mía, sin la tilde. Okay, so that's one that students had to report. Okay, so we use this video game to perform, okay, to carry out, to conduct this other research, okay, because we say, okay, why do people, so we want to see why, okay, and we say, like, it must be personality, because like people, that one approach to finding as to why people, okay, we use this video game. The problem was that it didn't work, because as you've seen, just like people had to detect errors, so it was confusing, okay, for some. So we said, okay, let's create a video game for the specific purpose of identifying errors, okay? Because I used to work as a localization tester for PlayStation, okay? So basically, my job there was just like to play games and try to find errors, okay? That's why I'm crazy, okay? Right, so we created, that's what I'm going to share with you. But first, I'd like to tell you, it's like translation competence is like, for example, technological competence. There are lots of frameworks. Okay, as to personality, this is like, let's say, the most famous one. The big five. Okay, which says that we have like 5 personality traits, and we sort of like score or rank higher or lower in each one of them. Okay, just like agreeableness, openness, extroversion, openness to experience, conscientiousness, etc., etc. Okay, so we said, okay, why don't we just like try to mix both things? Why don't we try to make a game? Okay, that was sort of like challenging. Why don't we try to make a game that sort of like gives us an idea of the personality of the player and how people detect errors and what is the effect, how they combine. Okay, what's the correlation? Okay, so we created these. This is we just launched it. Okay, it's called The Woods. Okay, and that's the let's say that's the objective. You work for a video game company. You've been told to revise the text of a new game to make sure it does not contain any errors. Okay, so. And then it says it doesn't tell you how many or what type, etc. So people, what they do, okay, they play through the game, okay, and there's questions, okay. It's sort of like it's like sort of like choose your own adventure, okay. So depending on then you go here or there, okay, and then it does 2 things, okay. So every question sort of like confronts 2 personality traits. For example, the first one, it says, okay, you wake up dazzled in the middle of the forest. What do you do? Okay, you see just like a path with footprints, so you follow that, or it's not the moment to set up now. Okay, to set off now, conscientiousness. Okay, so we try to do these. It's been validated, so we've seen that that test sort of actually correlates with or predicts just like the scores with these big 5 personality trait questionnaire. So fantastic on that side. So that's what we use in the video game. And at the same time, okay, that's what we do. For example, we've sort of like introduced actual errors, also like typical errors that you may see in video games. That just like 10 types of errors. We've included them 3 times, for example, spelling, tilde, well, diacritics, grammar, etc., variables, codes, yeah, etc., etc. So, for example, if you're reading the questions and then you see there's a mistake, obviously that's the 2 obvious ones, yeah, like hard grain there, okay, that's a variable, and then there's also a code at the very end. Quote, okay, so you choose it, okay, and then it'll tell you, yeah, you saw it, you spotted, and we receive those data, okay, and then based on the answers that you provided, okay, it sort of like tells you your personality, okay, we did imagine with those 5 traits, okay, we've taken the way they finished it, like 120 possibilities. Okay, just like how they classify, and we created different sort of like personalities. It doesn't tell you you've scored 10 in extroversion or openness, etc. It doesn't tell you that. We do have those anonymous data, okay, but it does tell you, okay, sort of like it gives you like in a horoscope way, okay, your personality, as you can see there. Eres una persona sensata, metódica, enemiga del caos, always positive, yeah. So and that's what we've done, okay. And then it also tells you how well, how many, not how many, but how well you performed your task at identifying errors, okay. So and that's the idea. That's what we want to sort of like create, so that it gives you a picture of these and how it relates, okay, how it predicts error detection in QA, in localization, in video game localization, okay, which, okay, we recently published these on the journal Jaws Trans for translators. It said that those, okay, but that was preliminary, okay, and because we sort of like could say that with more individuals, some other results in terms of like, it would have been just like the effect size would have been bigger, okay, but we could sort of like assert and infer that low levels, actually high levels of neuroticism was a predictor, okay, of error detection, okay. It makes perfect sense, right? Because if you're not sure about something and you think, oh, I'm surely wrong, okay, you'll go over that, and then you're more likely, yeah, to identify an error, okay. But we didn't know at the time, and it's nice to have something to like scientifically validated, okay. So that's a thing, okay. Now, if you want to, I'll share the presentation later with you, okay. But that's a link that you may want to write down, okay, and that'll take you to the questionnaire with 50 questions, the short big 5 personality. It's anonymous. It's absolutely anonymous. However, if you want to do it and then tell me that's the nickname that I wrote down, I'll give you the results, because we have everything, but we do not know who did this, because it's just a nick or it's a combination of numbers and letters. And then, okay, that's what we getting now. Try to gather as much data as possible, obviously, to like to see, because it's not the same to like to have done these in a sort of like Google Forms questionnaire, the story of the game, as to do these in an actual game. And we want to also see to like differences and how to like gaming, these gaming contexts may affect how people respond this questionnaire, okay. So that's one, but then if you want to go and play the game directly, okay, that's well, sorry about the icon. That's not the icon that I intended. PowerPoint just changed it. Sorry. Okay, but yeah, that's the actual link of the game. Okay, so if you want to go and play the game, okay, you may, yeah, just like, or I'll show you very quickly. Yeah, I do have. I hope I have. Okay. we said the words game, okay, and that's okay, that's what he does, and that you'll see. Okay, again, just like this. Okay, okay, that's as I said. Okay, trabajas tal. Okay, any type of error. Okay, if you think something's wrong. Okay, click on the pencil icon. Okay, if it's an error, it will show. If it isn't, it won't. Okay, it may contain multiple mistakes. Okay, okay, well, you read it later if you wish. Okay, and then answer. That's the trick here. To like answer the question sincerely. Okay, if you want to have an accurate result. Okay, and that's okay. Well then. Okay. On. Okay, that's that. And then you will see just like very briefly. Okay, and then, so I said, question based. Okay, te despiertas en medio de un bosque, la cabeza te da vueltas, and you have no idea what happened. Okay, you have a cloth. Okay, you have a tunic. You have a strange feeling that sort of like pushes you to move forward, but you do not know what it is. Okay, so you pull yourself together and see two paths. What do you do? Okay, ¿cuál eliges? Okay, and then there's one which is like, no es el momento de echar a andar todavía. Okay, so that would be like conscientiousness, yeah? Meticulosidad. Okay, and then there's, está claro que necesitas ayuda. Okay, so that's more like extroversion. Okay, so we're confronting is sort of like error. So you choose, and then you move on depending, as I said, on the type of answer. Okay, and you will see. I want to show you a mistake. Okay, and how it's fixed. Can you see it? Any of you? ¿Lo veis o no? ¿Y el error? ¿No hay? Sí, sí, sí. Very good. Why did you see it?
Eso es muy complicado.
Okay, so yeah, well, different types of errors. Okay, lots of errors in terms of so that's what you do, and then then you move on, etc. That's the game basically. Okay, right. So I also give me a second. There we go. Okay, I also just like very briefly, just like because we're running out of time, and I don't want to hold you up. So just like. Of the games, a game, Among Us. I'm pretty sure, you're familiar with that. We used it. Did like to see how they.
It's back to the COVID. No?
Yeah, that was during the COVID. Yeah, but then we wanted to see how students learned vocabulary incidentally and intentionally. So we told a group of students use these words, and the other group were just like playing the game, and we saw that intentional. Vocabulary learning was obviously more effective than incidental, but nonetheless we saw that after a certain number of repetitions, words were learned. Okay, and then that's it's published there. It's just like the that's a publication, and then I had an overview, just like if sort of like recent and not so recent, but just like apps on games. Okay, for different speaking. Vocabulary, grammar, and sort of like oral skills learning. But I think I'll share that with you, and that's it. Okay, so we like Heads Up, Lingo Kits, etc. So if that's fine with you, just like we'll call it a day. If that's fine, because I don't want to hold you up because we've lots of them did like, and now it'll come with explanations and what it does. Some are very nice. So that was a selection that I wanted to make for you, because I think as José was doing, which is like with different levels for infant education, secondary education, adult education, did like for example that's lyrics training that it changed the name to Lingo Clip, but did like I'm pretty sure you know that with also with films, etc. So yeah. Gracias, and that's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Hi, hello. Hi, hello, José Ramón. It's me. I would like to ask you if these games that you have just presented so nicely, have you developed them yourselves, your team, or have you hired a company to do so?
We have to hire people.
You hired a company.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not that. Unfortunately, we're not that proficient. But all the design and all the testing and all the methodological foundations and we do this in our research group.
Okay. So was it just the two of you, or were there more people involved in the kind of the design?
Yeah.
Just the two of you?
No.
Mostly it was him, actually.
Okay,
But working
okay.
with, and the good thing is I've been working with a company, as I told you, I think I told you before,
Oh, I see.
in the province of Alicante. It's important for that. And so he knows them.
Okay.
So he's working with them with some experience. And so they know what he wants and he knows what they can. So that's, yes, I've been working with them.
No, it's a big group. We also have a psychologist, okay, a good friend of ours, and he's done all these as I was saying, personality parts, anxiety, etc. So he collaborates with us.
So that it was my other question. I mean, these personality traits, I mean, where did you get them from? So you had experienced people from the field, of psychology. And have you tested them out with using users' experiences, questionnaires, in addition to pre or post tests? Have you tested them out, their efficiency, how good they are, etc.?
Not yet, because actually the game, that last one, just like the woods, just like I could create those links 2 days ago. No. Seriously.
Sorry,
and
yes.
I said, that's the deadline. I told the company, because we have to go to Santiago, okay? And then that's the deadline. So, I wanted to share that with you. And then actually in 2 weeks, okay, I'm one of the modules that I teach is audiovisual translation. And that's actually going to be one of the tests. They're going to play the game, we're going to see the results, and we'll also have to make a report, etc. So, yeah.
And I was curious, you didn't answer if you don't want to. Okay, is it very dear, very expensive to hire these companies?
Actually, it is. Okay,
It is.
but these words things has been a little miracle, I have to say, because we like you. We do have these what do we call it, José? Los proyectos de innovación, del ICE. Innovación.
By the University of
Innovación
Alicante?
educativa.
Yes, we get like 2,000 euro stops, okay, and that's what they have, like the budget. So they've done these with.
I don't know if there's some other risks probably, because I heard that there's some other names for them. We call them Proyectos de Innovación Educativa. And you can apply for that, and every 2 years you get a budget for that, and then you can.
Yeah, it's something like within the university, very, very little.
How much did you say again, please?
4,000 euros.
4,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's very little. You won't get
And how long did they need to do them, to develop them?
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah. Well, that was my summer. Creating the story and testing. José was testing all the people that I know. We were working on that during the summer. Yeah. So because first what we did, what you've seen, the text was actually a Google Forms. Okay, that thing there is it says Woods 50. Okay, so if you write down, it's okay. If you write down Woods 5, it will take you to the Google form. Okay, to the Google Forms, with the same text. Okay, without errors, obviously. Okay, to make sure that the questions that we were going to implement in the game correlated and more than correlated, could predict the outcome of the Big 5 test. Okay, once we saw that they did, obviously there were some that didn't. Okay, but out of the 30 questions, we could predict the results of the test. We said, okay, now we can input those in the video game. Okay, but it was really difficult to create the story, because always having to confront two personality traits. It was, as I'm telling you, it was all the summer, thinking about that. and we're very pleased with the results. Okay, and yeah, I want to say, just like if you would like to have the presentation, you may just like write that thing down, just like the link bit.ly/IWoDA and my initials. Okay, so and then it'll take you to a website, Dropbox, where you can download the presentations, especially for the games that I would like to share with you. Okay?
Thank you.
You're very welcome. People were about to clap because.
It's time for lunch.
It's lunchtime. But I'll be pleased to. I said.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.